The next text structure that we're going to study is comparison contrast, which emphasizes or discusses similarities or differences among ideas, theories, concepts, or events. It can be compare only, contrast only, or a mix. It bears noting that in all the educational research that I have done, comparison contrast is usually pointed out as one of the ways that students learn best. We tend to like to notice the differences and compare contrast. And so this might be something to pay attention to in terms of being a reader or in terms of being a writer. There are many different graphic organizers that will help in comparison contrast. This one is a matrix. It has two different things, though you could add extra columns for more than two, and it's comparing along specific attributes. I want you to notice the word attribute. It's important. You have to compare and contrast similar attributes or characteristics. You can't go into a comparison contrast without specific things to compare and contrast. The most famous comparison contrast graphic organizer is the Venn diagram. In the Venn diagram, you'd put the similarities where the circles overlap, and then the differences in the parts of the circles that are independent and non-overlapping. However, many different people talk about the top hat being superior to the Venn diagram, and here's why. It has the same idea of differences and similarities, but there's more space to write in. And let's face it, we tend to write in squares and rectangles a little bit more easily than we tend to write in circles. The top hat is becoming a graphic organizer that is gaining popularity when students plan for comparison contrast. Note that this graphic organizer, as with the Venn diagram, compares two things. A matrix might be better when you're comparing more than two things. There are different signal words, and the ones on this screen specifically go along with compare, comparison. Those signal words include, but are not limited to, similarly, blank is as blank as blank, like Joe is as tall as Bob. Like, both, resembles, in like manner, likewise, correspondingly, in the same way, just as. Those, again, are signal words associated with compare. These are signal words associated with contrast. Unlike, less than, more than, contrasted with, differs from, conversely, however, as opposed to, whereas, but, in contrast, on the other hand, either or. The key questions that comparison contrast seeks to answer is what is being compared on what criteria? I want to go back to what I said when we looked at that matrix. You must have criteria. The criteria must be the same for both or all things you are comparing. When you do comparison contrast, you obviously ask what is the same and what is different. But what makes the superior comparison contrast is that it draws conclusions. What is the message or meaning of those similarities and differences? Please go to page 122 and 123. Actively read exercise 4-8A. Please complete questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After you are done with the questions, look through this slideshow and pick the most relevant graphic organizer in this section for the text of 4-8A and rationalize your choice, defending it. That means that on your paper, I should see a sentence or two that explains why out of the 3 graphic organizers I gave to you, That one was the best one to show the information, to organize the information in exercise 4-8A.